football.
With that being said, we are going to start the show with Alex, who has been on quite the heater on this show. Alex, how you feeling? Are you ready to give us some picks?
I'm feeling good. I'm on a considerable heater. I am 19-9 on the season right now, though I am only 5-4 in my picks of the week. So would like to find some improvement there for sure.
Do with that what you will, guys.
But overall, yeah, it seems like you should listen to me on anything except the pick of the week. But yeah, I'm feeling good. Ready to give you a few before we get to picks of the week this week.
Okay, so Alex, go ahead. Give us your first 3 picks.
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm going to start out with, I think, an interesting little Sunbelt game here, Louisiana and Southern Miss. I'm going to take Southern Miss plus 2.5 in this game, though I would watch this, see how this moves around. Obviously 3 or 3.5 is certainly a better number than 2.5. I think Southern Miss is a pretty good team. 4 wins so far, could make a bowl game. Nice bounce back in their second year under Will Hall. They are the only team to beat the Tulane Green Wave, who are ranked right now. These are just 2 very similar teams to the point that I think this game is almost a dead toss-up. 2 very bad offenses, 2 very good defenses, and a special teams advantage, though, for USM if it gets to be that marginal, which I think it might. I think that Southern Miss getting a couple of points while playing at home just makes this a straightforward value pick in a highly defensive game that, again, to me, looks just about like a toss-up. I don't think I would feel particularly comfortable with more than a point going in either direction. Southern Miss is playing better coming into this game, and I like them as the home team. That's all. In the Big 12, TCU is playing West Virginia. I am going under 70.5 in this game. Just think that number is a little bit too high. It's one of the higher totals of the season in college football. I agree that it should be high. I'm not saying this is going to be a defensive struggle, but I think there are enough reasons that the 60s rather than above 70 seem like a more appropriate total for these teams. TCU has a brilliant offense this year. I've loved watching them play. I love Max Duggan and Quentin Johnson and Kendre Miller, but they love the short pass behind the line of scrimmage. They are not trying to airmail it over your head for quick points. I expect that they're going to dink and dunk as they usually do. That takes some time. West Virginia's defense is not awful against the run, and I think with Kendra on the other side, that certainly matters against TCU. But more importantly, I'm just not sure where West Virginia is going to find a ton of points in this game. I don't know that they're going to hold up their end of the bargain to actually get points scored here. They have no explosive passing game to speak of, which means they can't take advantage of what's really been one of TCU's biggest weaknesses. So I just see this game being somewhere probably in the 60s rather than above 70. And I'm going to go one more total here. Temple's playing Navy. I'm actually going over 39.5, living a little bit dangerously given the lack of offensive quality in this game. I've watched a lot of Navy this year. If you've watched our videos, you've probably seen me fading Navy successfully, by the way, quite a few times. Did it again last week. And I have this game as more of a mid-40s number than something not even at 40 on the dot. So I like the value. 2 reasons for that. Navy has a really bad offense, but has shown its usual ability to rip off some big pass plays that have kept their scoring outputs from being terribly low. This is a thing that you see a lot with these Service Academy offenses. They'll get a few pretty big chunk passing plays per game because of the way the defense plays them close to the line. And on the other side, Navy's pass defense is so bad that I think even a pretty woeful Temple offense is not going to be able to help itself from scoring at least some points in this game. Temple gets sacks on defense, but that doesn't do you a lot of good against Navy. I think Navy can stay on schedule decently in this game. I think both of these teams can find 3 touchdowns, and someone can get the field goal that would get us comfortably over the top. So I feel pretty good about it.
All right. Well, if it was anything like last week's picks, we are in great shape. With that being said, we're going to head over to Joe. He's got 2 picks for us. Joe, I'll just let you take it away.
Yeah, the first pick I'm rolling with this week is going to be Miami, Florida money line. They play at Virginia. When I saw this line, I was expecting Miami to be like a 7-point favorite or something in that region. I did not expect this line to be closer to a pick 'em. Virginia is terrible. I have no idea how they have 3 wins on the season. I've actually been very good at betting on or against Virginia this season too, even though they are so bad. I'm 4-0 in their games this year. I was on them +3 outright versus Georgia Tech. And it was just a dreadful game. They ran 30 plays inside of Georgia Tech territory in the second half, and they scored 3 points. They also have no kicker. They have no kicking game. They can barely kick a field goal, which is something in college football I feel like you have to cap a little more than in NFL, where everyone can kick every field goal. Some of these teams have to go for it on 4th down simply because they don't have the personnel to go for it. And then it's kind of an all worlds collide spot. Miami has been really hot and cold this year. They're coming off a really bad loss against Duke, where they lost by, I think close to 20 points at home as 10-point favorites. Now they have to turn around and go on the road against Virginia. It's a short line. I think that they're getting disrespected on the line a little bit simply because of their last week's performance. We've seen them bounce back and play better after losses this season, even though it hasn't exactly translated to wins. I simply think this line should be around +7, which gives it a lot of leeway and a lot of value on Miami on the outright money line. So I think Miami goes into Virginia and gets a win this week. And then the next one I'm rolling with is going to be a similar spot. I'm rolling with Kansas State money line at home. They play Oklahoma State in what should be a really fun and exciting game. Oklahoma State this past weekend won one of the weirdest games in college football history. They didn't have a single penalty, and Texas had over 130 yards in penalty yards. It was the biggest discrepancy in over 100 years, I believe. So, and Oklahoma State had a lot of injuries. They had a lot of guys coming in. They were 6-point underdogs as the higher ranked team with less losses at home. It was a Texas spot all the way. And then Texas kind of just gave them the game in the second half. The penalties hurt Texas a little bit. Oklahoma State is a good team. I just think this is a really weird and kind of tough scheduling spot for them. The Big 12 is a gauntlet this year. Everyone's kind of beating up on each other, and then TCU's at the top right now. But I think Oklahoma State, it's kind of their week to lose, I think. Kansas State has actually played really well. I will have to monitor their quarterback situation as Adrian Martinez went out with an injury. Even the backup went out with an injury. But I just think Oklahoma State, their luck is finally going to run out. I don't think they're going to have a 100-yard penalty discrepancy. It's always harder to play on the road after getting a big win in these spots. You have these emotional letdowns. And then Kansas State has played really well in the season overall. Their only loss before that game was to Tulane, who now Tulane looks like a much less of a bad loss than it did at the time. Because now Tulane is ranked, Tulane is playing extremely well, and now people are looking at it like, oh, that might not be such a bad loss. So I just think Kansas State is going to play up this week. Hopefully they get healthy, but I think it's Oklahoma State's time to lose. So I'm rolling with Kansas State on the money line.
All right, guys, we got some money line picks, we got some spread picks, and we got some total picks. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody, whatever you guys like. With that being said, it is now time for my favorite part of the show. It is picks of the week. Now, guys, you're each going to give us what you guys think should be your pick of the week. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to start with you, Alex. Alex, you are looking at the Louisville game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yes, I am.
All right. Let's see. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so Louisville is taking the trip to Winston-Salem. They're playing Wake Forest. I like the Deeks -4.5. Watch this. It'll bounce around. Obviously, we put in these picks. I do on Sundays, and it'll move over the course of the week, I'm sure, or at least there's a decent chance that it will. But whether this is 4, whether this is 6, whether this is 4.5, whether this is 5, you understand. I like Wake at anything in this vicinity. I think that Louisville is a little overvalued this week based on a nice showing on defense last week against Pitt. I attribute that and Pitt scoring 10 points more to Pitt than to Louisville. I think Pitt has a rough offense this year that is designed poorly and running poorly, executed poorly. They have no sense of themselves on offense. Keaton Slovis, the QB, has prevented them from doing much of anything down the field. Great. Congrats to Louisville. You held them to 10 points. You played a good defensive game. Do not forget that Louisville has a bad defense and that Wake Forest's wide receivers and Sam Hartman, the quarterback there, are a very different kind of opponent than what they just saw with Pitt. I think that Wake is going to score tons of points in this game. I think they're going to produce explosive plays, and I think they're going to have a very nice outing offensively. Defensively for Wake, no, it's not awesome, but I think it is good enough against a Louisville team that is limited passing the ball down the field for big chunks with Malik Cunningham. Their biggest defensive problem, if you're Wake, has been an inability to get really any stops at all near their own end zone, at the end of drives. Louisville has been really bad at that on offense, so they're not well suited to take advantage of that. I love Wake Forest in this spot.
Okay, well, a fun fact, Louisville is 4-3 against the spread this season so far, and Wake Forest is 6-1. So let's see what happens. Let's see if that trend continues. With that, Joe, your pick of the week, you're taking on the Coastal Carolina, who are taking on the Marshall Thundering Herd. Did you guys know that was the Thundering Herd?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. One of the few mascots whose mascot name doesn't end in an S. One of the.
What is a Chanticleer? Yeah, what is that?
That's a beach chicken.
Yeah, it's
what, a chicken?
A beach chicken.
A beach chicken. Okay, I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, Joe, tell us more about your pick.
Yeah, I am rolling with the Chanticleers this week at +3. I bought the hook. It's some 2s, 2.5s around, but I bought the hook to -3 or +3 against Marshall. Marshall is another team similar to Virginia, who I've had a lot of success either betting on or against this season. Marshall simply hasn't played that well as favorites this year. They were 10.5-point home favorites against Louisiana Lafayette. We saw them lose that game outright. We saw them lose outright to Bowling Green as 17-point favorites at home. And Marshall has been playing a little better lately. They had an outright win over JMU, who was ranked. Marshall defense has been playing really well the whole season. Their offense just simply cannot get it going. The Texas Tech transfer, Henry Colombi, simply has not had a good transition over to Marshall. They can't move the ball. He's been benched. They run the ball a lot. Coastal Carolina has been susceptible to the deep passing game and really electric quarterbacks. They've done a pretty good job at stopping the run. And I just think Coastal Carolina's defense matches up well with what Marshall wants to do. And Coastal Carolina, nobody is really going to stop them on offense. They run the ball. They have a very dynamic up-tempo offense. Grayson McCall just knows how to run this offense. They know how to move the ball. I think they're going to score 30-plus points, and I just don't think Marshall is capable of putting up more than 25 points. I don't see this being a low-scoring game, and I just don't think Marshall has the absolute firepower to keep up with Coastal in this game. I had this lined at Coastal -3, so to get it 6 points on the other side with them getting a field goal, I think is a lot of value. So I'm rolling with Coastal Carolina at +3 for my play of the week.
All right. I like that too. That's the one. That's the pick of the week. All right, guys. As for me, we did pretty good on Penn State last week, I would say. Did you see the final score?
I would say you were on that one. Yeah.
It's because Eli Manning was at the game. This is the only way I can explain it. But with that being said, this week I am going with the Notre Dame at Syracuse game. Syracuse opened at -1.5. It's already -2.5. I'm going to take Syracuse. I'd still bet that. What can I say? That Syracuse-Clemson game has me sold. Clemson narrowly escaped with the win. They literally chased DJ Ukulele off the field. But what do you guys think?
Well, I think that what Syracuse showed against Clemson is encouraging against Notre Dame because Clemson has a defense that is elite in every way. I think is better than even Notre Dame's defense. But Clemson can also score at least a little bit. They can move the ball in a way that Notre Dame cannot. Also, this game's at home for Syracuse. That one wasn't. So I think rationale-wise, I'm with you. Sometimes we get scared by helmets, and I get scared by helmets a little bit, and it just feels like the kind of spot where Syracuse might mess something up, knowing what I know about Syracuse. But I think that rationally speaking, it's a sound pick.
It's so crazy. I felt like if Syracuse won the game with Clemson last week, they would have definitely gone to the college game day. Not this. They're not going this week though.
Would have been exciting. Yeah, I think game day has never been to Syracuse for football.
Yeah, it would have been really great for my home state of New York. I'll claim them. Joe, what do you think about this pick?
I like Syracuse. I like what they're doing over there with their defense, and then Sean Tucker and Schrader running the ball and throwing it downfield. But the thing that scared me about this game is Notre Dame sucks. They're not
Yep.
very good here, and
Hey, you're not playing good football.
this game is under a field goal at a lot of books. And I just got a little sketched out by this line, considering Syracuse looks like free money at home with one loss in a game that they could have beaten Clemson. But I think you have to bet on Syracuse until they prove you otherwise. So I would roll with Syracuse here too.
I mean, Notre Dame has not nearly fared as well as everyone expected. They're 4-3 right now. They were upset by Marshall. They were upset by also number 2 Ohio State and Stanford. So they're not looking too good. I mean, their quarterback is expected to miss the rest of the season. Drew Pine is also not very good.
Yeah,
so I think we're in a good spot.
I think I like the pick. I think that Notre Dame has problems.
Yeah, and hopefully we see that come out on the field this weekend. With that being said, guys, this has been another episode of our college football show. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment below with what your favorite pick of the week is. And we will see you guys next week.